It's been a minute. Oh my god, I'm kind of nervous. Let me take a sip. What is up, you guys? Welcome to the I Don't Have a Name for This podcast. I am your host, Kristen J, and it has been a minute. Honestly, it's been long overdue since we had an episode for this podcast, and there's just so much to talk about, so much to catch up on, but this is not the episode for that. Today's episode is going to be more so focused on, if you read the title, falling out of love with law school. And oh my god, I feel all this nervous energy inside of me. I don't know why. It's like this topic, that's like the first time I've said that out loud, actually, and I've thought it. And it's been a very scary thought. But before we get into all that, you guys already know we have to start the podcast off with me asking you guys, how are you doing? No, really, how are you? If you're new to this podcast, then you probably don't know, but you can suspect that I like to create space for my listeners to check in with themselves and give them a moment, or give you guys a moment to really tap into your inner emotions, even if it's just for 30 seconds while you're listening to this podcast. If nothing else you take from this podcast, I hope that 30-second check-in drives home the point that you need. Whatever you need to take from it, I hope you're able to take that from it. And so now, with that being said, let's get into the very juicy topic for today, which is falling out of love with law school. And before we get started, let me just address the elephant in the room. I'm bald. I am bald. I decided to shave my head off this weekend. This was something that's been planned since September. I knew the moment that I was bleaching my hair platinum blonde. If you follow me on my socials, then you know that I bleached my hair platinum blonde. And if you watch this podcast anywhere where there's video, you probably... Well, actually, no, I don't think I've done a podcast episode with my blonde hair. Wow, shame on me. No shame on me. We don't shame ourselves for taking breaks when we need them. But yeah, so when I dyed my hair, bleached my hair platinum blonde, I knew that it was going to be but a matter of time before I shaved it off. And this weekend was just like the straw that broke the camel's back, because I just came from hot yoga. I'm doing yoga, which is my new like jam or whatever. And it's not just yoga, but it's hot yoga. And so every evening or morning, I'm like leaving out of yoga feeling like a wet puppy. My hair is like stuck to my forehead, and I wasn't liking it. It was really annoying. And I did a pixie cut. If you follow me on my socials, then you know, but if you don't, that's cool. Go follow me. But I did a pixie cut, and that pixie cut was very cute, but a lot of maintenance, and it wasn't what I wanted. It wasn't like, it was cute. I did it for 30 days, but to maintain it, I wasn't signing up for that. So I was like, you know what? It's yoga or my hair, and clearly yoga won. So now to get started with today's very much interesting topic, which is I am not in love with law school anymore. And the reason why that's such a daunting thing for me is because it has me challenging and questioning a lot of what I've known to be true. And so basically, I've wanted to be a lawyer since I was like about 4 years old. I used to advocate for my siblings back at home. Like whenever there was punishment, I'm like their little defense lawyer. My mom was like, you should be a lawyer. I'm like, yeah, I will be a lawyer. And here I am halfway through the journey, and it is so surreal. It is so bittersweet. Like, this is a very, very, I don't want to use the word difficult because I don't like when people prescribe or project what they find difficult to things like law school, because I'm not here to deter anyone. But it was challenging. It has been challenging. That's the proper word. That's the proper term. It's been extremely challenging for me, and just being so far away from home, from my family members and my friends and everything that I know. Yeah, it's been really tough. And my first couple of months in law school, I started to struggle with depression again, and it started to show up in the ways that my house was a mess, my car's a mess, and I started to like kind of panic, because the last time I was having like a major depressive episode, it was in New York during the pandemic. I just lost my father and was struggling with the concept of being locked in at home, and it was just so much going on, and I just never ever want to return to that place. And so when I was fresh out of New York, straight into law school, going through depression again, I started to panic, and I was like, no, okay, what are we gonna do? We're gonna get help now. Because I remember when I was going through this during the pandemic, I also went and got help, and I saw professional help from a therapist, and that's what really helped me navigate this space. Because a lot of people that are around me, we don't necessarily have the tools in our tool belt to deal with this kind of stuff. Like, a lot of us, our parents did the best that they could with the knowledge that they had, and we are the generation that's like challenging mental health constructs and what at least in the Latin community, in the Hispanic community, what is considered taboo. And so a lot of this is just, trial and error, and you don't know what you don't know. And so with that being said, like, professional help, and even if we had someone in our circle or people to look up to, I think the professional help is honestly, one, life-changing, and two, life-saving for me. So I have always been really open to the idea of therapy ever since my incident that happened at I don't want to get into that right now, but just know I've been open to the idea of therapy, because that is a whole other topic within itself, and maybe I should do a separate podcast episode on that, which I probably will. But anyways, so that was the first time experiencing depression here so far away in California in law school, and I realized quick fast that law school doesn't lend itself to taking breaks for mental health or recovery, or I need to take a weekend off or a week off, because you fall so far behind in law school just missing one day. So like a weekend or a week it's insane. It's not doable, because I've done it, but it's not fun. And it feels like, at one moment, especially my second semester in law school, I felt like I had to choose between my mental health and being a successful law student. And I remember bawling my eyes out, crying, because I was just like, I can't do this. I want to do both. I want to be successful. I want to retain my scholarship, but I can't do it at the expense of my mental health. And honestly, if my mental health is in shambles, then my grades are not going to be good, and this scholarship is going to be as good as gone. So I really had to early on find that balance. And I think that second semester, I really did lose myself. But I had about from the middle of April, or end of April-ish, like 2.5-3 weeks into April, was the last exam I had for my second semester. And then I didn't return back to school until the last week of August. So that was a good enough time to like recalibrate, reset my nervous system, get in touch with myself. And so when I started my third semester, I was really excited and passionate, and I was like, yes, I'm going to be the student that I know I can be. And life was like, psych, pause, hold on. And I had my fair share of battles to handle in my third semester. And that is, I think, when I developed high functioning depression, because at that point, my mind and body knew that I could not check out of law school. That wasn't an option for me. So if you're going to be depressed, it's going to be a high functioning depression. And honestly, it took me a while to realize. I actually just realized that I am dealing with high functioning depression this weekend, when I had a total complete mental breakdown. It's been 3 weeks into my fourth semester, which means I'm almost like, it's crazy to me the fact that this is the fourth week of my second semester, second year. Like, what? Like, let's keep it a buck. I messed that up, but anyways, yeah, the fact that like I'm about to be 2 years into this career is insane. Into this law school career is insane. Like, that's crazy to me, because wow, 4-year-old me, little baby me, dreamed of times like this. And if I sat here and told you guys everything that I've been through, you would be like, wow, you're not supposed to be here. It's a fucking miracle, honestly. And so let me take a sip. Give me 1 second. And so, I just had to process that. And so the fact that I'm literally just about 2/3 of the way through is insane. And so part of me was questioning, like, maybe this is self-sabotage, maybe this is fear of success, or fear of failure, or fear of both, to be honest. And maybe this is why I am doing the things that I'm doing, because 3 weeks into school, and I already had missed 2 classes. I missed 2 classes last week, exactly. And it just started to feel like a monumental effort to socialize, to wash my dishes, even though there was like 2 or 3 dishes in the sink. It felt like a big deal to read even 1 page. I didn't want to read. Like, I just was like, I would open my book and I'm like, I don't want to do this. And I'm like, do I not want to be a lawyer? And I had to sit with that for a while, because I'm like, this is all I've ever known. This is all I've ever dreamed of. And I know I want to be a lawyer. Like, I know for a fact I want my law degree. I want to be able to practice law. I want to be able to expand the law in so many ways. But this process, this, like, for lack of a better term, like, law school is a 3-year hazing process, and it's literally meant to weed out the weak. But I don't agree with that type of environment. Like, that's not what my soul calls for. And honestly, maybe I'm meant to feel all of this on a deeper level so that I can come and, change shit and fuck it up and, like, rewrite this whole system, because it's not right. Like, it's not surviving law school. I should make a series called Surviving Law School. Surviving law school has no bearing on how intelligent you are or in how successful you're going to be, or it just holds no weight. It shows nothing besides the fact that your mental health is probably in shambles. And I think that's true for everybody in law school. Like, if you said you went to law school and you were A-okay for 3 years, you're lying. You're lying, period. So, what really inspired this podcast episode to come out today is today in art law class, I went to class knowing that we had a guest speaker. And normally guest speakers, like, I tune out. I'm like browsing the web. But this guest speaker had me tuned in. Like, I was captured. Okay? I was captured by his presence, by his tone, by his demeanor, by the things that he was saying. And basically, to put a long story short, he's now an executive director of a museum here in San Diego. Whoa, is my throat chakra closing up? He's an executive director of a museum here in San Diego who started his career as an anthropologist. He got his PhD in anthropology and then decided that he wanted to go to law school and expand his horizons. And after working for a certain amount of years in law school and making partner at in law school, after graduating law school and working in a law firm, he made partner at his firm and he was like, this is not it. And so he made another career change, and now he's an executive director of one of the biggest museums in San Diego. And don't quote me, I think it's one of the biggest museums in San Diego. But the point is that he made all these non-traditional decisions while on his path to figuring out what was his calling or his purpose, or however you like to frame it, and what his soul was yearning for. And that resonated so much with me because it made me feel like, whoa, it's okay to fall out of love with law school. It doesn't mean that you're not supposed to be here. It doesn't mean that you're not going to be a lawyer. In fact, it doesn't mean anything. To be honest, we don't wake up every day. For those of us who are in relationships, I am not. We don't wake up every day and, feel the same excitement and enthusiasm to be in a relationship that we felt day one, and that fluctuates throughout relationships, that fluctuates throughout friendships, and that fluctuates throughout our careers while we're figuring out what actually makes our souls light up. And so the fact that love isn't transactional, it's not an emotion. Love is something that you have to choose every day. And that sometimes means not choosing it or not feeling it and being okay with that. And that was such a beautiful breakthrough for me in that moment, in that class, that I was just sitting there in awe. I was glued to my seat, paying attention to every word this man said, eating it up. If he prepared this to sell me something, I am sold. So everything that I had conjured up in my mind, or that I thought and I was feeling this weekend, or the last couple of weeks regarding me falling out of love with law school, was really the fear of the unknown. Not knowing what that meant, not knowing what was on the other side, not knowing, does this mean I'm supposed to quit now? Does this mean that I should stop? Even though it didn't feel like that's what I was supposed to do. And I just wanted to figure it out in that moment. And sometimes you just have to sit in the abyss and flow. I couldn't have come up with this answer on my own, or at least I wasn't meant to, because I was supposed to go to class today and get that message from the man who was giving the speech. And it's well received. So all that to say that it is okay to fall out of love with things. It's okay to not know what you're doing in the moment, even though you've had this identity or you've had this idea for so long. It is okay. It's actually a part of the process. And the more that we embrace that part of the process, the uncomfortability, the unknown, the fear of failure, the fear of success, the more we embrace it, the more that we are in alignment with our lives. Instead of going against the grain, taking the hard route, just flow. And on the topic of flowing, I just took a moment this weekend to just put my books aside, and I gave myself permission and space to just exist and feel my emotions, feel my sadness. I cried a lot this weekend and it felt so good, so liberating, so freeing. It felt like exactly what I needed. And I was able to, be so much more compassionate with myself and show myself so much more grace, because prior to me having that aha moment where I realized, oh, this is high functioning depression, because the depression that I was used to doesn't show up like that. I was like, okay, whoa, I'm not okay, even though I've been thinking I'm okay. I've been convincing myself that I'm okay. And that's for the sake of me being able to keep going, you know? So I realized that I do want to get back into therapy. I want to speak to a Black therapist who's going to not undermine my mental health and my mental status. Because I've also had the experience where I've had therapists tell me, because of the tools that I've developed in my life, like I have a meter system that kind of goes up and down when I'm like getting close to my point. And one of the things that are like a telltale, is that how you say it? I think it is when my house looks a mess and I can't keep up with it. That's one of the things that like, but it took me a while to get to understand that I was going through that, because my house didn't look completely a mess. It was like I would pick up one corner and then I'll make a mess in the next corner, and then I didn't want to pick up that mess, you know? I would wash the dishes and then I'd like dirty dishes again, and I just was not in the mood to. I didn't have the energy to do more than the bare minimum. And because I was doing the bare minimum, as opposed to completely shutting down, I didn't think I was depressed. But the moment that I realized that, yeah, I am dealing with high functioning depression and this is how it's showing up for me, I decided to look into therapy again and start my therapy journey. And so we'll be doing that this week. I'm very, very excited. And there's just like so much that I need to process in talk therapy, because it's been a while. I think it's been a year since I've been to talk therapy. No, it's actually probably been a little bit over a year since I've been to talk therapy, because once I started dealing with depression during my first semester, I went to talk therapy, and when we came back from the winter break, I never started back up. But I have been through so much since then. It's been a year, at least a year. So there's so much to process, so much to talk about, so much to comb through, so many patterns and habits and beliefs that I myself could use guidance and help through navigating, you know? These are unfamiliar waters for me, and I am not opposed to allowing help into my life, especially when I need it. Okay, can I get it? Okay. Yo, I am so funny. I really crack myself up. So yeah, that is what I wanted to come on here and talk to you guys about today. And I hope that you were able to gain something from this episode. And, you know, I just want you to know that it's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to admit that and say that out loud. As scary as it is, no matter where you are in your career, like, that is okay. And you don't need to have the answers right away. You don't need to have the answers now. You may never like come up with the answer. Like, that's the point of life. The journey is the point of life. Showing up as yourself is the point of life. Figuring out what makes your soul light up, that is your purpose. That's your point. You're just here to be you. And the greatest gift that you can give the world is being yourself. Nobody else on this earth can be you. No one else can fulfill that task. And so with that being said, I need you guys to show up, please, because we need you guys. The whole world needs you. I need you. You need me. We need each other. And so I hope that this podcast episode can act as a warm hug from wherever you are listening to my voice, and letting my voice kiss your beautiful ears and penetrate your beautiful brain. And I just hope that you're able to take away whatever you're able to take away from this podcast episode. If you want to share your experience after hearing this or while hearing this, please feel free to comment, rate, subscribe, follow, tune in, tap in, all of the above. And if you're new to this, you can stay true to this by following this podcast on any podcast platform. We're on Spotify, Apple, wherever you're listening to this or if you're seeing this. Hey. Thank you so much for showing up for yourself. Thank you for listening, and I will see you guys in the next one.